Hello and welcome to Squid Pro Quo, a Squid Game podcast where there are only 3 rules. 1, a player is not allowed to stop podcasting. 2, a player who refuses to podcast will be eliminated. And 3, the podcast will be terminated if the majority agrees. I'm Sean.
And I'm Mike.
Yo, we're back!
The Squid Boys are back, ladies and gentlemen. So there's been some, we promised we would cover the Squid Game reality show that Netflix was putting on. Mm-hmm. And there's been some news that's come to light about this that's pretty
crazy.
Horrifying.
It's pretty insane.
Pretty wild. But I will say, Sean, before we get into that, I just want to say one thing to our people out there, our Squid Boys, and gals out there. If you weren't aware, Sean and I are doing another podcast called What Is This, a Crossover Episode, where we are going through each episode of BoJack Horseman and talking about it. And Sean's never seen it before, and I'm a big fan. So we're kind of giving our different opinions on it and talking about what jokes are funny and all that stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, please go check it out. Again, it's called What Is This, a Crossover Episode. It's on all your favorite podcasting services and YouTube, so go check that out. Anyway, that was a plug.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this Squid reality game, Sean.
Yeah, so if I was a better podcaster, I would have scrubbed through all these articles and taken all the relevant information out and, created like a rundown for this show so that we would have a guided conversation about this. I didn't do that. So instead, I've got like 12 articles open here with just a crazy amount of information from people on the show that were sent home that have broken their NDAs and spoken anonymously to the press. But Mike, like, have you read any of these? Have you heard of this controversy yet?
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. Basically, the idea I've gotten is that this has been a disaster on every scale that you could measure it on. It has been an absolute disaster, and it makes me count my lucky stars that I didn't actually apply, because it sounds like even if I would have made it on, there was no chance of me winning. And there's they joked that, hey, no one will die during this, but it sounds like someone could have died during this, right?
It doesn't sound great. So I'm not going to take us through this chronologically because I don't fucking know. But
right.
I can start us with the first bit of news that we heard, which was reported from the U.S. Sun, which was the headline. This was written by Julia Atherley, and the headline was Squid Game Horror, Squid Game Horror as contestants on new Netflix show stretched off in stretchered off. Damn, I'm fucking up this whole headline. Stretchered off in freezing weather during UK filming. So, somebody told the Sun that people were sent home from the filming of the first game, which was red light, green light, after they started to feel unwell in -3 degrees Celsius temperatures.
What's that in Fahrenheit? I'm American, Sean. -3 Celsius. I'm looking it up. That's 26.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes.
So very cold.
Yes.
Below freezing. Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense because below 0 is below freezing for Celsius.
Yeah. One person told The Sun, quote, even if hypothermia kicked in, then people were willing to stay for as long as possible because a lot of money was on the line. Too many were determined not to move, so they stood there for far too long. There were people arriving thinking they were going to be millionaires, but they left in tears. They added, it was like a war zone. People were getting carried out by medics, but we couldn't say anything. If you talk, then you're out. Some people couldn't move their feet because it was so cold. You could hear someone yell medic and the crew would rush on. We ended up standing there for 30 minutes between takes. Some were crawling by the end. At least one was carried out on a stretcher. Specifically, I want to talk about the cold conditions because this was the first thing that we heard. This was in January. This was before the rest of this stuff came out. At this point, this Sun article did not mention anything about what else we're going to talk about, which was I'll give a little bit. It sounds like the thing is rigged, which the Sun article did not mention that at all. It only mentioned that it was freezing in the place where they were filming it. There were no heaters. They gave them 2 thermals, 2 socks, a shirt, plimsolls, and green tracksuits. And it didn't sound good. Now, after that, Netflix denied this. I think it was 2 days later, Netflix put out a statement saying that 3 people received medical treatment during filming for the real-life Squid Game show, but they denied that anyone suffered serious injury.
Which this Rolling Stone article has something about that,
go
too.
for it.
With a life-changing amount of money on the line, the former contestants say they felt trapped, fearing that if they moved to help, they'd be out of the game. People were beating themselves up, including myself, around the fact that you've got a girl convulsing on the ground, and we're all standing there like statues. What planet is this even humane? Obviously, you would jump and help. That's what our human nature is for most of us. But it's absolutely a social experiment. It played on our morals, and it's sick. It's absolutely sick.
Yeah. So Netflix, the full statement from Netflix was, we care deeply about the health and safety of our cast and crew and invested in all the appropriate safety procedures. While it was very cold on set and participants were prepared for that, any claims of serious injury are untrue. Which is a pretty hardline stance to take.
Ugh.
Because when people say, like, if it's true that people were on the ground convulsing, then what you've just said is just a lie, right? Like,
right.
It's not, you did not leave any room for any kind of, like, there's no leniency in that statement, you know, for them to be like, oh, we didn't know, you know, it was like,
right.
They're like, no, this did not happen.
Something that's interesting, too, to know is that one of the co-producers, Studio Lambert, there have been claims that they make staffers work in inhumane conditions.
Interesting.
Staffers on the UK's Gogglebox alleged in 2021 that they worked excruciatingly long hours and were made to go without breaks, which isn't the same as being stuck in below freezing weather.
Yeah.
But still, it sounds like there's one of the co-producers is doesn't sound like this went well just from that standpoint, and not even talking about what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
One person said they had a herniated disc and a torn ligament in their knee, but they couldn't move because they didn't want to lose. There's just a lot of people being like, and it had to have been this. Okay, so here's my thing. Outside of the rigged aspect, which we're going to talk about, you know, all these people signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, if you don't know what that means, to say, hey, you're not allowed to talk about the show until it is released. And that's like standard for all reality shows because they get filmed, they get edited, and they get put out. And it's usually months before they get put out from when people filmed them, right? So even like non-contests, like The Real World, when that was a thing, or you know, Jersey Shore, just those reality shows, those people would sign NDAs as well. So for all these people, because it sounds like we have a handful, 10 or more people at least, that are breaking their NDA to say, hey, this wasn't safe, right? There's no way that's not true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's extremely, I mean, you're really putting yourself under a lot of risk there to come out and say this.
For what, right? Because it's not, they know they're... The rigged thing is another thing because it's like, you know, there could be some sour grapes there, right? But the safety thing, to me, it's just like, if they're breaking NDA for this, like, because they could be sued. You know what I mean? The Netflix could sue them. And maybe one person came out and then they go, well, if they said something, I'm going to say something, right? And there's strength in numbers in that. But still, you're violating a signed agreement that you can get sued for. So I'm on the side of this has to be real.
Oh, I believe this entirely.
Right.
The other part that I want to talk about before we talk about this really other, you know, this is the big thing about it being rigged, is there was also conversation about the hotel experience.
Yeah.
So they were talking about first of all, they had been told 2 hours in this hangar that they shot the red light, green light thing in. They said they've been there. They were there for about 15 hours total. If you made it to the end. And I don't think they were allowed to leave even if they were eliminated. They just had to go wait. But when they finally got back to the hotel, one participant said, everyone is hungry and asking for water. None of that is there. They're frantically trying to order pizzas and not caring about people's dietary restrictions. Nobody could order their own food because their phones and computers were still locked up, and they weren't allowed to simply leave the hotel and walk somewhere to get something. I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore with you people, the participants said. And by the way, this is from the Vice article, but they say that they were eventually given cookies at the hotel room door, and at around 1:30 in the morning, some bottles of water. Other people got what the participant refers to as Fire Festival looking burgers delivered in the middle of the night.
I understand the Fire Festival comparison, but I think those people at Fire Festival would have killed for some burgers.
Yeah, probably.
I just want to say.
Probably.
They got like cheese sandwiches.
And not everyone even got a knock at the door to let them know they had a burger of sorts. So it was just waiting outside. Later, when a group of players were commiserating together over better meals they'd ordered themselves in the hotel cafe, they took a photo of it. So this is a photo of the burger that was deposited at the hotel door without, I guess, any warning for the.
Yeah, that's a rough looking burger.
Yeah, that's a
Why is that tomato yellow?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Wait, did they have a cucumber on their burger?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening, dude. That's like,
this is doctored.
Yeah,
this is doctored. They added the cucumber because that'll make no sense. Is that a piece of broccoli?
And it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't make any.
What the?
It doesn't make any sense. But
what the hell?
And they talk about So let's jump into the big part here, because that, those are the terrible the terrible conditions of it being just
awful.
Absolutely freezing. Like that enough is grounds to shut the whole thing down, right? Like,
right.
You already have grounds to sue here. I think. I don't know. I guess I don't know what contracts they signed. Maybe they don't. But this seems like endangerment, reckless endangerment.
Right. Agreed.
Apparently, from what we're hearing as well, sounds like this whole thing was rigged from the start.
Rigged. It has earned the nickname, instead of Squid Game, Rigged Game. According to Rolling Stone. Now, I didn't say these people were creative.
No.
But
yeah.
They definitely weren't treated properly. So a lot of this, there's people claiming that everybody was given a mic, but only some people's mics were hot, and those are the people that they wanted to win.
Mm-hmm.
There's a claim that they had a mother and son on the show, and the son made it, but the mother didn't, but they added time to the clock, so the mother made it. And then the 38-second massacre is the most interesting thing to me, and I'll read this paragraph from the Rolling Stone article. 3 former players describe what contestants are now calling the 38-second massacre, when a large group of contestants made it across the finish line with time remaining on the clock, meaning they had successfully made it through to the next round. However, as they waited for producers to go over footage and get drone shots from the round, their blood squib packs went off minutes later, and they were told they had been eliminated. Despite making it across the finish line, they went crazy, one contestant recalls.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the game, from what I understand, the way the game works is in the show, obviously, you would get shot if you moved during red light, green light, right?
Uh-huh.
And what they did to recreate that, obviously they weren't shooting people, but they put like squib blood packs on everybody, and if you moved, your pack would go off, and then you'd lose.
Uh-huh.
You're covered in fake blood,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these people got across the finish line in time, and then they had their packs go off and told them they lost.
God.
What?
You're there, you're past the finish line.
Right.
It's insane. I have this from Vice, people talking about the lead up to actually playing the game when they were all in the holding area together. This is when they started to notice that some microphone packs worked and some didn't. And this is a quote. "We finally started talking and I said, 'Hey, what was your casting process like?' One person said they didn't apply, but had been sought out by a producer. They'd recommended a friend who was also cast. Other participants included a TikTok star, a set of twins, and a father-child pair. At that point, the participant told Motherboard Yeah, production staff that came over and reprimanded them again, telling them that discussing the casting process wasn't allowed. They continued to go and compare notes. The participants said several people realized they had flights booked later in the week, as though the production staff already knew they would be eliminated. I'm like, well, maybe it's just cheaper for them to do that and to do a change fee. Other players disagreed, saying the whole thing felt suspect. I'm like, but it's a competition. They don't know who's going to win. If I'm going and they're like, hey, we got a plane ticket for you to go back at the end of the week, don't worry about that. I'm immediately like, what?
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Like, what do you?
Like, why would?
What do you mean?
That doesn't make any sense. Well, I guess I would if I thought that's when the show was done filming, I'd go okay. But clearly that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
One person was quoted saying it really wasn't a game show. It was a TV show, and we were basically extras in a TV show.
Yeah. I can't believe don't talk about the casting process, because that's such a red flag, because presumably the casting process should be the same as everybody else. Right. The only reason that you're saying don't talk about the casting process is if some people were cast in a different way for favoritism reasons, or if there's some fucked up shit happening in the casting process, which hasn't I'm not trying to say that there was, because there's been no allegations of anything bad happening during casting. But my point being, trying to hide the casting process is never a good sign, in my opinion.
No.
You know?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, they can cast whoever they want for it. Yeah. To me, that doesn't have to be a fair process. But if you're claiming this is a game and it's rigged, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's just not. Then don't say it's a game.
It's insane. It's really sad as well. You know, people talking about people broke their lease to be on the show. They quit their jobs.
Which
you shouldn't have done, but
no, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
But what makes it so much worse, in my opinion, is not only is that stupid, in my opinion, on the level of come on, you're probably not gonna win, you know, but then right. When you take into the effect, or when you take into effect the fact that they were never gonna win because it was presumably rigged from the start. I feel like they're gonna get sued.
Yeah, I'm worried that we aren't gonna see this show at this point.
Is that what you're worried about?
Because now that we know it was a nightmare, I need to see it, right? I know that sounds a bit insensitive, but it's okay, no one actually died, right? Yeah. It turned out okay. If someone had died, I'd be no way. But I need to see this now. I need to see what a disaster this is. And not just for I want to podcast about it. I just want to know how bad this show's going to be. Because I think even if they recover from this whole thing, it is going to be a terrible show.
Yeah.
It is going to be a train wreck of massive proportions. And I need to see it.
The idea of it being rigged, right, is just I feel like you're gonna get sued because you sold this idea. I mean, it's false advertising, right? Or I don't even know right. What.
Well, and I wonder if
unless there's something in the contract, I don't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if there's something in the contract that was fine print and people didn't read that said they can choose the outcome or something. Or
400 something people
Right, but they if they word it in certain lawyer speak, it doesn't
register.
Be ambiguous, or it could be, you know what I mean? There can be trapdoor laws too. You know what I mean? There's a lot they could do so they could still have control of it.
The idea that you told them, hey, you could win this money. No, you can't. I don't know. I'm and I guess maybe they could say You could have won the money. Like, we didn't decide when you signed on. We decided later.
I guess the idea is we'd have to know what the rules they laid are in the contract.
Yeah, which there's no way we're ever going to know that.
No. And unless it does go to court, and then, I guess, that becomes public.
Yeah.
Public knowledge,
we're like, if the show comes out, we're still going to cover it, right? Like.
Oh Sean, I just don't. I think they're gonna abandon ship here.
The thing is,
I don't think it's coming out.
Like, so these articles all started coming out at the beginning of the month. I feel like we'd know if they were abandoning ship. Like, also, when did they film? Like,
so they from what I understood as someone who looked into like applying to be a part of it, is they were gonna film in January,
and it was gonna be done by the end of January.
They said you'd be gone for a few weeks, I think.
Okay, so apparently according to Variety, they were eliminated on January 23rd, which was red light, green light. So the first game was shot on January 23rd.
Okay.
So
I'm assuming they're going to be done filming soon.
Yeah. Which my point is, like, already. It's been 2 weeks since all this came out, and
well, right, but they
didn't cancel the games, like.
Presumably, you don't have people breaking NDA anymore because they made it past, right?
Yeah.
So all the people that are upset about it are out, and they're gone. So they said everything they're able to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
I guess
if anything, though,
I guess my point is just that, like, at this point, I feel like we'd have heard if they said, "All right, pack it up." I feel like the show's gonna come out. I guess is my point.
Yeah. My only thing is they could film all of it, and then there'd be more controversy, and then they go, okay, we can't show this show.
I'm very curious. I can't wait for the documentary, the Netflix produced documentary.
Yeah.
About the making of.
Yeah.
They just throw their producers.
The Squid Boys produced documentary.
Yeah. Dude, Ted Sarantos calls us and is like, "Man, guys, we really gotta look. We're gonna throw all of our producers under the bus. Will you come help us do it?" I'd do it. I'd take that Netflix money if they want to be like, "Hey, make a documentary about how we fucked up." But I'd also be totally cool. This is so fucked up. I'd be totally cool, like, pushing an agenda that Netflix had nothing to do with it. If they gave me a script where they were like, "We want you to
if they give me enough money, I'll push whatever fucking agenda they want, dude."
Like,
you hear that, Netflix?
We'll do a whole series about how these producers ran rogue and Netflix had no idea this was happening, and like, I'll push that Netflix are the real victims in all of this. I don't care,
Right. Right. No, Netflix did nothing wrong.
Well, don't say that yet, because they didn't pay us.
I mean, Netflix, you should pay us to tell people you did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Another. I don't know that there's a whole ton more to talk about. Another short bonus episode, like we did one a couple months ago. But still, I just thought this was worth, like, this is just nuts. Like,
it's insane. And like I said, I'm super excited to kind of see what comes of it as a show, right? Like,
yeah, and I guess,
is it going to be a train wreck? Is it not? Is it, are they going to be able to hide it with good editing? I don't know. Like
part of it as well for me is this idea that, like, how did they think they were going to get away with this?
Yeah, they weren't. Whoever the production company is behind it, they weren't very smart about how they handled this.
Like,
they could have done a. If this is what they wanted to do to rig it, they could have done a lot better job of hiding that fact.
Yeah,
sounds like it was pretty common knowledge that it was rigged, and they didn't do much to make people feel different about it.
Like, because in my head, I'm thinking, you're taking 10 plus hours to film this anyways. And you're between every, like, moment where they run, they have to stand completely still. So you have plenty of time when people have crossed the finish line that you're like, they weren't supposed to get there. There's got to be some moment where you go, we've already got them here for 10 hours. Let's have them stand around for another hour and go turn off their blood packs or something so that we don't look like fucking morons when a bunch of people that just passed the finish line have their blood packs go off.
Right.
You know, like it.
Right. They probably just thought, oh, they won't figure it out. You know? They won't break their NDA.
I guess, which is like today, you know, like in today's time, I just kind of assume that everything that happens is going to come out eventually, you know?
Right.
So I guess maybe they hoped that
agree.
the show would come out and then they'd get all the views and then afterwards already. But like, I have to imagine as well, I can't think of the creator's name, but he's got to be pissed too.
Right.
Because now this thing that he worked on for 10 years or whatever, like, it has its name attached to just like it has its name attached to what he was critiquing with the show.
Yeah.
You know, like,
for sure.
Like,
well, everything about this show is contradictory to what the show's about.
Exactly. But even to the extent of like, then it just all went wrong. Like, it was already contradictory. And now it's even
more. I don't even mean just the reality show. I mean the fact that the show is like a huge success. That's true. And, you know, on Netflix,
that's true.
Everything about it.
That's true.
Contradictory, yeah.
It's just, man, what a crazy time we live in, Mike.
It's a wild world, Sean.
I desperately hope that, you know, it's been about 5-6 months since we did the last bonus episode. So I'm hoping that in about another 6 months, we'll be able to sit down and record the first episode of the Squid Game reality show podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be quicker in 6 months if they're filming right now.
You think quicker than 6 months? 5 months?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, hopefully soon.
I think we'll know in April when the show's coming out.
Okay.
That's what I think. Okay.
I'm excited to find out because I want to see, like you, how much of a disaster this is. And really, like, I think there's so many fun, like, as somebody that does podcasts, this is kind of a gold mine because there's so many segments you could do about this. Like, where you're like, all right, let's see where it was rigged. Like, where we have to guess where we think something was rigged, something like that. Or like, which of these participants looks underfed or something like that, you know? Like, just, there's some really terrible shit.
Who are the golden children that they picked to win this?
I think it's going to be pretty obvious, but definitely.
Well, yeah, because they won't spotlight anybody that's not. Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, the most challenge reality shows are like this. Like, think about even like Wipeout or like Ninja Warrior. Like, there are a lot more contestants that run it that don't get on TV, or American Idol. They only show like either the people who are really good or the really goofy people that like draw attention to themselves, and that's what this will be too. It'll just be a guy in a superhero costume and the fucking mother-son duo
and the
then
TikTok
the guy
star,
that
Charlie D'Amelio or something like.
Right.
Ain't no way Charlie D'Amelio stood outside for 10 hours in the freezing cold.
No.
Ain't no way.
Well, no, that's the thing too. I wonder if they like the people that were like that were important to them. They like, here we have this heated trailer for you.
We're gonna put down some tape on the ground where you were standing so that we know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we know where you were. Yeah. Like, you don't have to stand out here the whole time.
And then as soon as
some hot cocoa.
As soon as they walk away, like an assistant walks over and moves the tape up 10 feet. Like,
right.
Like I'm desperately curious to know what happened. And to be able to kind of.
So what they should have done with this, and we can talk about this more when it actually releases. But what they should have done is they should have just made it like a sporting event.
Yeah.
What's live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because then they can't hide nothing.
Yeah.
Then it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, if someone loses, they lose. I don't care if they're the TikTok star or whatever. That would have been cool.
Yeah. It seems obvious that they cast people like you made the American Idol comparison and the difference, definitely, like the big difference that I'm sure you agree with is that like in American Idol, it's not like when you sign up to do it in the first place, it's not like you've already been decided that you're going to definitely move on to the next round. Whereas in this, it seems clear to me that before anybody did anything, like before anybody expressed any sort of talent or skill or anything, they had already decided who was going to be the person that was going to be winning.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
Which is like,
yeah,
come on. You can't.
It's like pro wrestling. It was just based off popularity, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this person's popular, so we're gonna push them, or they have a cool story, we're gonna push them.
And maybe what they had planned, because it's so big, is to have the first couple games knock out 90% of the people that were going to be there. And then from there, you do the kind of more traditional reality TV thing, which you're watching what the people are doing and then scripting it around, like, because when reality TV show is happening, it's not like they go into it with a script. They're scripting it as they're like, what is an interesting angle for us to take, right? They're like,
they let people interact, and then they build a story around it.
Exactly. And I wonder if that was their plan, was they were like, all right, we've got 400 something people here. Let's knock out 300, or let's knock out 430 of them, so that we're down to like 20 people. And then from there, we'll build kind of like, we'll adjust, and maybe they didn't pick who was going to win, but they picked up to a certain point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like it's probably, I know we're getting a lot of like negative like stuff from this, but I feel like that's probably closer to the truth. Is, those people, that the 38-second massacre, they probably crossed the finish line and they went, oh shit, too many people made it, we got to get rid of some people. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't necessarily about, like, they wanted their favorites to get through, and they did, but it wasn't necessarily about, hey, this person's pegged to win the $1 million. It's just, we only want so many people going to the next round.
Yeah.
Which seems more likely to me, but it comes off as if they were just like hand choosing people, and it's just like, oh no, that's not good. You can't have that in a game.
No. But
all right.
I'm excited for this.
I don't think there's anything else to say about it, but yeah, I'm excited too, man. I'm glad to be back in the squid mode.
Dude,
I'm squidding all over.
I love inking everywhere.
I'm inking.
So I'm
inking all over.
I was thinking earlier today about a bit, but I was like, this is a gross bit. I don't want to do it. But my bit was where I started singing like the Bad Boys song, but it's like, Squid boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when the ink on you? Like,
hell yeah. Hell yeah. Squid boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when the ink on you? Squid boys. I love it.
I love it too.
I love it. So how do we end the show? We agree to end it, right?
I think so. Fuck.
But anyway, before we do that, Sean, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean_AFK.
And you can follow me on Twitter at SpikeGhettiBros, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/SuperSpikeGhettiBros. And also, don't forget, if you're interested in the BoJack Horseman podcast, What Is This, a crossover episode starring the Squid Boys, me and Sean. We're recording season 2 right now. Season 1's out, so go check it out. And I think that's it. And we'll be back soon with more Squid Boy action with the reality show.
Yeah, I'm currently listening to the end of the bonus episode to remember how we end the show.
I think I just say, Sean, I agree to end this episode, and you say, Mike, I agree to end this episode.
You know what? Let's just do that.
Sean, I agree to end this episode.
Mike, I agree to end this episode.
Okay, the episode is ended. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, that's a really bad outro.